Hello everyone, this is Shubham from Edureka. In today's session, we are going to learn what is Node.js. So without any further delay, let's move on and look at the agenda for today's session. In this session, we'll first understand the client-server architecture and multi-thread model, followed in client-server architecture. Then we'll look at the limitations of multi-thread architecture and we'll understand how Node.js solved those limitations using single-thread architecture. Further moving on, we'll understand what is Node.js with the help of Uber case study. We'll look at some of the Node.js success stories. Then we'll go through Node.js modules which are important while working with Node.js projects. And at last, we'll take a look at a demo which will help you to understand how to work with Node.js projects. So are we clear with the agenda, guys? Can you give me a quick confirmation? So now let us move on to our first topic, which is why Node.js. We'll first understand the client-server architecture and know how client interacts with the server. In this architecture, we have users who interact with the client machine like laptops, desktops, mobile phones, etc. So while interacting with the client machine, user makes or generates requests which are then sent to the server. Server takes those requests and processes those requests and send back the result in form of response. Now let us understand this with the help of Uber's example. So there are customers who are interacting with Uber applications and generating requests to book a cab. So now those requests are sent to the Uber server. Uber server checks in the geospatial databases for the cabs that are active and available in that region and then allocates and dispatches a cab to a customer. Then server sends back the cab details or driver details back to the customer in form of response. So are we clear, guys, how this client server architecture works, or what is this client server architecture? Ashish says okay, Reshma says all clear, Thomas says all clear. Okay guys, let us move forward. We will now understand what is multi-thread model and look at the limitations of multi-thread model. In multi-thread model, the server assigns incoming request to a new thread. Similar as a client-server architecture, the user generates a request while interacting with the application and then it is sent to the server. So every time a new request comes in, the server maps a new thread from the thread pool to the incoming request. Then the thread is responsible for processing those requests and sending back the response. So the number of requests is equal to the number of threads used from the thread pool. Now the threads present in the thread pool are in limited number based on the resources. So if you will look closely, you will find a limitation over here. Suppose we have millions of requests coming in per second, and as the thread present in this thread pool are in limited number, so there will be a situation when all the threads are exhausted from the thread pool. In that situation, a new incoming request has to wait until a thread processes the last request and return back the result. So this is a situation of scalability which could be resolved by adding more resources and creating more threads inside the thread pool. But this is a costly solution, guys. We have an easier way of doing that using single thread model. But before going to single thread model, we'll first understand the second limitation of multi-thread model. The second limitation of multi-thread model is whenever a thread is working on a shared resource, it acquires a lock on that resource so that no other thread can access that resource. Now rest of the threads trying to access that resource will be blocked. So you can see in this figure that thread A is working on a resource and it acquired a lock on that resource. Now the rest of the threads which are trying to access that resource are blocked till the time thread A will finish the processing. Similarly, when A will finish the processing, thread B will access that resource and will again acquire a lock against the rest of the threads. So this creates a bottleneck situation in processing requests over shared resources and will affect the response time of the server. So are we clear with these issues, guys, or limitation of multi-thread model, guys? Reshma says okay, Saurav says all clear, Ashish says move on. Okay guys, now let us move to our next topic and understand how single thread model works and how it eliminates the limitation of multi-thread model. So in a single thread model, whenever a user performs an activity, an event is generated. For an example, if you click a button in an application or if you fill up a form, a new event is generated. You can take each new request as an event. Now, once you generate an event, event emitter emit those events and then those events reside inside the event queue in the server. Then these events are executed using event loops, which is a single thread mechanism. In this mechanism, a single thread takes events from the event queue and allocates the event to a worker thread present inside the thread pool. The allocation is based on the operation performed by event, like it could be an IO operation, so it would be handled by a IO worker thread. it could be a network operation, or it could be a CPU intensive operations. So based on that, it will be handled to a thread. Then those worker thread will process those requests asynchronously. We will discuss this asynchronous part in a while, guys. Now, you can notice here that we have only one thread in this event loop. So one thread in the event loop will be handling the events directly. So no function in Node.js can directly perform operations. Thus, the process will never get blocked. As these processes are based on events and events are handled by event loop, thus this model is also called event-driven model. So our Node.js follows this event-driven model, or you can say single thread model. So are we clear with this single thread model, guys? How this works? So Thomas says okay, Michael says all clear, Jordan says all clear. Okay guys, let us move further. Now let us conclude what we went through till now. So first, in multi-threaded model, the thread inside the thread pool are limited and can get exhausted at a point of time. While in asynchronous event-driven, there is only one thread handling all the events from the event queue. So there will be no blocked request, as no function in Node.js can directly perform operations. Now going to point 2, multi-thread model follows an incoming request model, in which whenever a new request comes in, the server allocates the new thread to a new request, while in asynchronous event-driven, there is an event queue where all the event resides. The event loop handles those events using a single thread mechanism. Now in third point, in case of multiple events, the multi-thread model will execute the event in a synchronous manner. For example, if we have event A and B, then event A will be executed first, and till that time event B will wait. Once event A has finished its execution, then event B will be executed. While in case of asynchronous event-driven, event A and event B will be processed asynchronously. They both will be executed simultaneously, and once the event has completed the execution, it will send back the result. Then in our fourth point, in multi-thread model, there are lots of threads which are working, so there will be context switching between the threads. While in asynchronous event-driven model, there is only one thread handling the event queue, so there will be no context switching between threads. In our last point, as we just discussed now, due to asynchronous execution and blocked threads, there are situations when requests will get blocked. While in event-driven, we execute events asynchronously, and whenever a request is processed, it will call a callback function. We will be discussing callback function in a while, guys. Please stay with me. But leaving that part, are we clear with this differentiation, guys? What is the difference between multi-thread model and event-driven or single-thread model? Michael says all clear, Thomas says all clear, Ashish say move on. Okay, guys. As we know the difference between multi-thread architecture and single-thread architecture, now let us move on to our next topic. So now in the Uber story, we'll look at the old architecture and know the limitations of the old architecture. Further moving on, we'll look at the new architecture of Uber and know how the limitations are solved by Node.js. Now let us understand the Uber old architecture. Customer book the cab using Uber application on their phones. Then the request to book a cab is sent to the Uber server. Then the server checks with the geospatial databases that which are the cabs available in that location. Now the server allocates a cab to the customer and sends back the response in form of cab details or driver details. Earlier they were using PHP as their server-side scripting. Now what happens with Uber is Uber's matching system creates an enormous amount of supply notification and demand requests. But a ride request does not just elect the eventual driver. Nearest driver are stored in a geospatial databases which is continuously updated by every active driver on the network as they move about the city. Matching rider with the driver partner is the mission critical system of Uber. If this breaks, Uber does not have a business. Since they were using PHP for server side and it is a multi-thread model, so each user request to book a cab is handled by a separate thread. So what happened was multiple threads were executing car dispatch operations. So there were cases when one car is dispatched for a user and in between the same car is dispatched to another user. So you might end up in a situation where same car is allocated to multiple users. So now let us understand how Node.js solves their issues. Now when a customer books a cab, it goes to the Node.js server. Here we have two databases as you can see in the figure. First is MySQL database for persistent storage, that is customer details and driver details, which is served using Python script, whereas MongoDB, which is another database, which is the geospatial database for maintaining the records of active drivers in a region. So now the car is dispatched from the MongoDB dispatcher and the driver details is responded to the user from MySQL database. So while using Node, they found that it can handle asynchronous requests with a non-blocking single-threaded event loop, which is well suited for distributed systems that makes a lot of network requests. We'll discuss about the non-blocking in a while, guys. But now Uber can handle multiple requests asynchronously. The second point is Node.js is an excellent for quick iterations. Program can be inspected and errors can be addressed on the fly without requiring a restart. So developer can publish and deploy the new code constantly. Now, as we know, Node is open source, so the active open source community continuously optimizes the technology and it gets better and better every time. So now what happened? Uber is now doing over 2 million RPCs per second at peak across Node.js fleet. So now you can understand how Node.js helped Uber to eliminate all the limitations that they were facing while using their old architecture. So are we clear with this, guys? So Thomas says okay, Michael says okay, RC says all clear, Saurav says yes. Okay, guys. So now let us understand what is Node.js. Node.js is a JavaScript runtime built on top of Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. It uses an event-driven, non-blocking I/O model that makes it lightweight and efficient. Node.js is a cross-platform environment, so it can run on OS X, Microsoft Windows, Linux, FreeBSD, and multiple operating systems. Node.js has a JavaScript library for running applications or for creating applications, that is networking or server-side applications. It is open source and free to use. So are we clear, guys, what is Node.js? Okay, it seems everyone is clear. So now let us take a look at the success stories of Node.js. First, we have Netflix, which is an online TV series and video streaming website, which use JavaScript and Node.js to transform their website into a single page application. Then we have PayPal, which is an online payment company. PayPal created two teams. One is Java team and another one is JavaScript team to develop their application simultaneously. What they found out is JavaScript team built the product both faster and more efficiently. We just discussed how Uber used Node.js to build their website. Now, the next is GoDaddy, which is an application hosting website which used Node.js for building quality applications, deploying new features, and writing unit as well as integration testing. Then we have LinkedIn, which is a social media website. When it went to rebuild their application, they used Node.js for their mobile application server. At last, we have eBay, which is an e-commerce website. They had two primary requirements. The first was to make application as real-time as possible, and second was to orchestrate a huge number of eBay specific services. So they achieved their primary requirements using Node.js. Now, after knowing this Node.js success stories, let us move forward and look at the job trends. So now you can see the graph. This graph shows the percentage increase in job postings per year of Node.js. So as you can see this rising curve, so by this curve you can easily figure out that if you are expecting a career in server-side web development, Node.js is a technology you should target or you should start working with. So are we clear with this Node.js job trend and the success stories, guys? Can you figure out the importance of Node.js? Great. So now let us move forward and look at the features of Node.js. So the first is asynchronous and event driven. We already discussed the event driven mechanism. So now let us understand asynchronous. So in asynchronous, you can see we have caller who are requesting and we have recipient who are sending back the response. We also have a callback function over here. So let us understand how this asynchronous works. So all APIs of Node.js library are asynchronous, that is non-blocking. So a Node.js based server never waits for an API to return data. The server moves to the next API after calling it, and a notification mechanism of events of the Node.js helps the server to get a response from the previous API call. This is one of the reasons why Node.js is fast. The notification mechanism is called callback function. We will discuss about it in a while and in detail, but before that, we'll look at the other features of Node.js. As Node.js is built on top of Google Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine, so its library is very fast in code execution. Then we have single thread but highly scalable. So Node.js follows a single thread mechanism as we know with event looping. It is highly scalable because event mechanisms help the server to respond in a non-blocking way and makes the server highly scalable as opposed to traditional servers. Then we have no buffering. Node.js cuts down the overall processing time while uploading a video or audio file. Node.js application never buffers any data. The application simply outputs the data in chunks. And we also know that Node.js has an open source community which has produced many excellent modules to add additional capabilities to Node.js applications. So are we clear with the Node.js features, guys? Do you have any doubt in these slides? Okay, Michael says all clear. Ashish says all clear. Thomas says all good. Okay, guys. So let us move forward and look at the Node.js installation. So Node.js installation is very easy. Let us go to Chrome browser. You can open the official site of Node.js, which is nodejs.org, and you can download the Windows version over here. You can easily install by double clicking it. So once you install your Node.js, you will find a Node.js command prompt over here, as you can see in my desktop. So are we clear, guys? How to install Node.js? It is a very simple process. Okay, guys, now let us move to our next topic, which is Node.js first example. So the steps for creating a first example, or for the steps for creating a Node.js application is, so first create a directory in which your project reside, then create a file with a JavaScript extension and embed your code inside that. Now open your Node.js CMD and navigate to the Node example folder in which you created your project, and then you can execute your Node.js file, or you can execute your file using node space that file name command. So are we clear, guys, how to create the first example? We'll just see how to create a first example in a while. Okay, so now this is the important concept, blocking and non-blocking. Now let us understand blocking and non-blocking IO with the help of a restaurant analogy. Now what happens here is, there is a waitress and a chef in a restaurant. While the customer comes in, the waitress takes the order and gives it to the chef. Then while the chef is preparing that order, waitress will take new orders from new customers and give it back to the chef. So this is the non-blocking IO situation, where the waitress does not wait for the chef to prepare the food. She takes the order whenever a new customer comes in. After the order is prepared by the chef, the waitress delivers it back to the customer. But if it would be in a blocking way, then waitress would take the order and give it to the chef. Then waitress will wait till the food is prepared and deliver it back to the customer. Then only she can take a new order. So in this situation, no new order comes in while or until and unless the last order is delivered. So now from this analogy, you might be clear how blocking and non-blocking IO works. Now let us understand this practically. So in non-blocking IO, the execution of additional JavaScript in the Node.js process must wait until the non-JavaScript operation completes. Now let us create a Node.js project and execute this blocking IO and non-blocking IO so that you will get an example, or you will get an idea to how to work with Node.js projects. We'll create a new file with the name of blocking.js. Now we have imported the file system module so that we can use it in our program. Now we'll create another variable, that is data. So now you can see here we are using function read file sync. So this function will read the file in the synchronous order. So while the file is read, the execution will wait for it, and then only it will execute other commands. So the name of the file we are importing, or we are reading, is text.txt. Now we are printing the data from the file. And at last it will print end here. We'll save this file. We'll create a new file with the name of text.txt. Now I'll write welcome to Edureka. I'll save this file. Then we'll go to our Node.js command prompt. We'll execute this file using node, and the file name was blocking.js. So now you can see here that the first output was welcome to Edureka, which was there in text.txt, and then it printed end here, which was the last statement. You can see here. Now let us work with a non-blocking JS. So we'll again create a file. We'll name the file as non-blocking.js. Now we are again importing file system module from our Node.js dependencies. So as you can remember guys, last time we used read file sync function, which made the function synchronous. But to make the function or to keep the function asynchronous, you will only use read file. And then the name of the file is again text.txt. And now we'll create a function. So now while you are defining an asynchronous function, the last parameter should be callback function, which we just talked about. Now the first parameter of your callback function should be the error or exception you are going to handle, and the second parameter should be your data, or it might be your data which you are going to respond back. Now we'll check if there is any error. We'll print the error using console.log. And now we are using a set timeout function, guys. So what this function does is this execute a one-time callback after delay milliseconds what you specify. So over here we are creating the function set timeout. So inside this set timeout function, we'll print display after 2 seconds. Now guys, that we have defined our read file function and the properties, and this is the asynchronous function. Now outside this function, I'll also create, or I'll also display console.log, and inside this I'll print start here. I save the file. Now what will be happening here guys, until this read file function is being executed, before that your console.log will execute and it will print start here. Then while this read file function will be executed, and while after displaying the result or after processing this request, it will generate the result and then it will display the result after start here. So let us take a look and execute this program. So as you can see, we first get start here, and after 2 seconds we are getting display after 2 seconds. So are we clear guys how this blocking function or how this blocking IO and non-blocking IO works? I think you might be pretty much clear how about this. So now as everyone is clear, let us move to our next topic, which is Node.js modules. These modules are pretty much important guys, because this will help you in working with Node.js projects. So we'll look at them one by one. We first start with NPM. So NPM stands for Node Package Manager. It provides online repository for Node.js. It is a command line utility to download Node.js packages or download online packages of Node.js. It downloads and installs the dependencies from package.json file which is present inside your project. So we have 3 commands. The first command is npm install, which will install the modules that are specified in your package.json, and it will create a node modules folder and will download and install all the dependencies over there. Then second, we have npm install module name. You can download or install a module name specifically by giving the name. For an example, okay, I have a question coming in right now. Neil is asking me a question. Where is this folder created? So Neil, this folder will be created inside your project. Inside your project, you have a package.json file which will contain all the dependencies that you need to download and install. So when you will execute this npm install command, this will download all these dependencies and keep it there inside a node modules folder. We will be seeing this in a while we are working with the demo project. So is it clear how it works? Okay. So second command is npm install module name. So in this command, you can specifically mention the module name. For an example, you can mention npm install express and it will install all the express modules inside your project. Then we have npm install module name -g command, which will install your module globally. We have a global scope so that you can install your command or you can install your module globally, and you can use it in any of the projects you are working on. So are we clear, guys, how this NPM works? Okay, so now let us move to our next topic, which is globals. So global objects are available in all modules. You have a global scope and you have a local scope. In global scope, you can use those objects inside any project of Node.js, while in the local scope, if you install locally or if you are using an object locally, then you can only use that object inside that project only. So we have a list of Node.js global objects. We'll first start with underscore dir name and underscore file name. So underscore dir name will give you the directory in which your current code resides, and the file name will give you or will specify the name of the file that currently contains the code. We have some of the timer functions also, and these timer functions in Node.js is an internal construct that calls a given function after a certain period of time. So we have three functions, which is set immediate, set interval, and set timeout. We just executed set timeout function, as you can remember, guys, in our non-blocking code. So this set timeout function is used to execute a one-time callback after delay milliseconds. Then we have set interval function, which is used to define a time interval and will be executed after a certain interval of time is specified by you. And remember, guys, that the time you need to specify it in milliseconds. Then you have set immediate function, which is basically used to execute a command immediately or will execute that command immediately. We also have three more functions, that is clear immediate, clear interval, and clear timeout function. The clear immediate function stop immediate objects, which is created by set immediate. The clear interval function stops an interval object as created by set interval, and clear timeout function prevents a timeout object as created by set timeout. So are we clear, guys, what are these global objects and how they work? Can you give me a quick confirmation? Okay, it seems everyone is understanding the concepts. So let us move to our next module, which is file system module. This is also a very important module, guys. We just executed a part of it. As you can remember, we use the syntax var fs is equal to require fs, which is used to import the file system module from your Node.js modules, and you can use it in your code. So file input output is provided by simple wrappers around standard POSIX function. For an example, you can first create a file, you can read a file, you can write in a file, or you can open a file. Every method in FS module has asynchronous and synchronous forms. As we just saw that we use a synchronous form while we are creating a blocking IO, and we use the asynchronous form while we are creating a non-blocking IO. So the main difference is you have to use this sync keyword, which is used for synchronization at the end of every function. That will make it a synchronous. And if you will not use this sync keyword, then it would be a asynchronous function, or the function would be an asynchronous form. So the asynchronous methods take the last parameter as completion function callback. A synchronous method is preferred over a synchronous method because it never blocks the program execution, where the asynchronous method blocks. Now you can easily compare, and I think you will be getting it because we just executed this in blocking and non-blocking IO. So are you clear with this, guys, or should I show this again, or should I explain this again? Okay, everyone seems pretty much clear. So let's move forward. So in file system module, we have functions for opening a file. So functions are, the first one is fs.open, and you have to give the path of the file. Then you have to give flags and modes, and at last you will give a callback. So seeing this callback part, you can remember that callback is always given in case of asynchronous functions, not in case of synchronous function. So this is the way to open a file asynchronously. Now the second one is fs.open sync. As I told you earlier that if you are using sync in end of any function, it will make the function in synchronous form. So now you have to specify the path of the file that you are opening, and again you have to specify the flags or modes. At last, this is a close function, that is fs.close, and you close the file using fs.close function. Then we also have functions for reading from a file. So the first function is read function. So in this read function, guys, we are reading the content from a file and saving it inside a buffer. So this fd is a file descriptor. This is the name of the buffer, the offset, the length of the character to be read. Then we have position, the position till which it should be read. And at last we have a callback. As we all know that callback will return or will be executed after the completion of this function. Then second we have read file. And in this, we are specifying the file name which we have to read, and then we have a callback function. As we know from this that this is the asynchronous read file function. Then we have read file sync, that is synchronously. So we are going to read this file synchronously, and we will only give the file name as the option or argument. Now moving on, we also have a write function for writing into a file. So using this write file function, you can open a file and you can insert the data, or you can write the data inside that file. And again, you have a callback function at the last. So this is the asynchronous form of this function. Then second, we have write file sync. And as you can see, we have sync keyword over here. So this is a synchronous form of a function, or you can say a synchronous form of a write function. Then you give the file name and you give the data which needs to be written inside the file. So are we clear, guys, with this file system module and the methods which are used inside this file system module? Thomas says yes, Ashish says yes, Michael says all clear. Okay, guys. So now let us move to our next topic, or the next module of Node.js, that is callback. We have been talking about callback since a while. Now let us understand this callback in detail. You might have got a pretty much clear idea of what are callback or what are these callback functions. So basically, a callback is an asynchronous equivalent for a function and is called at the completion of each task. Now, I will make this simpler for you. A callback function is executed whenever an asynchronous function has processed the request and will send back the response. So, after processing the request, this callback function will be executed. And what we do in this callback function, as you can see in this code, that in this callback function, the first parameter which we are returning is the error or exception that will occur inside the code, or that may occur inside the code. And the second parameter or argument is the data that is expected to be responded. So as you can see here, that callback will be executed after the file read is complete. So as the read file function has to read a file, so after reading a file, it will call this function, that is callback function. The first parameter is error. If it contains any error, it will display that error. Otherwise, you will get the data which will be responded to the users or clients, you can say. So are we clear, guys, with this callback function? We just saw this callback function in non-blocking IO also. Okay, it seems like everyone is clear about this callback function. Now let us move to our next part, that is events. So as we know, and we discussed it earlier also, that Node.js follows event-driven architecture. So every action you take or every activity you do is an event, and it is created automatically. But you can use this events module and import this module, and you can create your own event and emit your own event. So let us understand this by the code. So first we are importing events from the Node.js module, which we will be accessing in our code or program, you can say. Then we are creating a my emitter, and this is the instance of event emitter class. So a new event will be created inside this my emitter from the instance of event emitter class. Now you're taking this my emitter and you're emitting an event called read file. And then now when you are emitting an event, now in this part you are registering a listener and you are checking that event, whether that event has been occurred or executed or not. So here you are typing my emitter, which is our emitter, and .on function will check that this read file event has emitted or not. So if it has been emitted, it will give read event occurred. Otherwise, it will escape this function. So are we clear, guys, how this event emitter or event works, or how you can use this events module inside your project and how you can create an event? So now let us move to our next module, that is HTTP module. So as we all know, this HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and we are using HTTP to create client server architecture so that we can receive the request and we can process those requests, and then we can send back the response to the customers or clients, you can say. Now this HTTP interface in Node.js are designed in such a way that it could support many of the features of HTTP protocol. Now let us take a look at the code, how it works. First, you can see we are importing HTTP module so that we can use it in our code. Now as a second step, we are creating a server using http.createServer, and inside this we are creating a function which will take the first parameter as request, which we are receiving from the user, and the second parameter is response, which we will send back to the user after processing. So now here they are parsing a fetched URL to get the path name. They are reading a file. Then they're creating a header with a content type text.html, and so that they can send the data within the header. If they're catching any error in read file function, they will respond, or they will create the header with 404 error and the data will be missing. Else, if there is no error, they will create the header with 200 status, that is okay, and they will again, the content type would be text.html, and they will print the data in your browser. At last, this is response.end, and this part, that is listen 3000, will open your 3000 port and your server will listen to the 3000 port. So are we clear, guys, with this HTTP module, how we work with this HTTP module? Jason says okay, Maya says okay, Saurav says all clear, Ashish says all clear. Okay guys, so now let us move to the interesting part of our session, that is hands-on. So in this demo, you will be clear how to use the modules that we just discussed now. So we are going to use a CouchDB, so we should first install CouchDB on our system. We'll go at CouchDB website, we'll download it for Windows, and then I'll install this file. So that now I have installed CouchDB on my system. We can take a look at CouchDB. So for taking a look at CouchDB, we have to go at localhost 5984. Then _utils. So now you can see we have lots of databases over here. We'll delete each database. So I just specified the name, address, and I deleted that database. Okay guys. So now let us go back and create a new project. We'll make a directory name of example. We'll navigate to the directory. So now I'll create package.json file using npm init command. It will first ask for the name of the project, which I'll keep as Edureka. Then this is asking for a version. I'll press enter. For description, you can give a description, whatever you want, but I am pressing enter. This is the entry point of your project. The entry point would be app.js file. Test command, I'll press enter. Git repository, I'll press enter, and I am not going to give any of this arguments. It is asking that the details are okay or not. It is okay, yes. So now we'll go back and check whether this file has been created or not. We'll go in example folder. Now you can see we have a package.json file over here, guys. Now we'll clear the screen, and now we'll just install all the dependencies that we are going to use in our project. So we need Express. So I have to go with npm install Express, and using --save will save this module or this dependency in my package.json file, guys. So now I'll show you my package.json file. Now you can see inside this dependency, we haven't included this yet, but it has been automatically included. So when you're using --save, it will automatically include that dependency inside your package.json file. Now we are going to install Jade. Now we'll install Nano. These are all the packages, or you can say these are the dependencies which we are going to use in our project. Now we'll install body parser. Now we'll install error handlers for handling error. Now we are going to install server favicon and URL. So first we'll go with URL. Now we are going to install server favicon to include favicon in our website. Now we are going to install Logger. Now then we will install JSON. And at last we are going to install Express session. Okay. So now coming back to package.json file, you can see all the dependencies that we have installed are here. And we have specified using -- save that it will save the dependencies which we are installing inside our package.json file. Now I'll do a npm install command at last. And yes, I have just downloaded and installed all the dependencies that I need to install. Now let us get back to our code. So first I'll create my most important file, that is app.js file. Now first we have to import the downloaded dependencies which we are going to use in our project. So I'll first download all the dependencies. We are going to use Express framework, so I'm importing Express framework so that we can use it. So now we have imported Express framework which we are going to use in our project. Then we are going to just import routes which we will just create after this. So we are importing the routes. / over here, you can see we have a / over here, so it will search inside the root directory for the routes folder. So now we are going to import HTTP module. After this, we'll import path module for working with absolute paths. Now we are going to import URL module and we'll give the name as URL encoded. Now next we are going to import body parser for reading our JSON file, and we'll give the name of the variable as body parser. Then we will import JSON to work with JSON file. As while working with CouchDB, we'll get the data in format of JSON, or we'll send data in format of JSON. So we need JSON package to work with JSON files. And then we have to import the logger. Then we'll import method override. And we'll name the variable as method override. Sorry guys, I just forgot to mention this method override in our dependencies, so I'll quickly go and mention it. So again, I'm going to use npm install method override space -- save. Okay, so now we have installed method override. Now this will work. So now we'll import nano. Require, and this is nano. So guys, using this nano, we'll just get connected to our CouchDB. So we'll enter the address of CouchDB, that is http://localhost : the port number is 5948. Now we'll specify the database that we are going to use, that is var db is equal to nano again for working with database, or you can say CouchDB. Then we'll use database with the name of address. Okay guys, now let us create an app using Express framework. Okay, now we are done specifying all the variables and importing the packages. Now we'll go to our next step. Now we'll use this app.set and we'll set the port number at which this application will run, or this application will be hosted. So we'll specify port. We'll give process dot environment dot port, and it should be 3000. If it is not specified, then we'll again we'll set using app.set. We'll specify the views folder. We'll create this views folder in a while, guys. We'll first end up working with this app.js file. So the path of views, as we just discussed, so to give the path of views, we'll use path.join, and we'll use the global object which we just discussed, that is directory name, dir name, and then the folder would be views. Okay guys, and at last we'll set the engine. So the view engine is Jade. We are going to use Jade. Now we are specifying that the app should use which all modules that we just imported now. So the first is body parser.json for parsing. So we have body parser.json, then we are going to use body parser.url encoded, so that we can pass our data in URLs. Then we are going to use method override. Now in Express, we are going to use static, and we are giving the path using path.join. Similarly here also we'll give first the directory name using this global object dir name, and then we'll give it public. Now we specified what all to use. Now the next part is app.get. So at the root location or at the main website address, we should get routes.index. Now in app.post, the first parameter is we'll use create DB for creating a database functionality inside this, and we'll give a function. The arguments of the function should be the request and the response. Now we'll define the function, and using nano we are going to create the database nano.db.create. Now the name of the DB should be, we'll get it from req.request.body.db name, which will be specified by the user. And then again we are using a callback function as we discussed, and the first parameter is the error. Now in this, if we are getting an error, then response.send error creating database. Plus the database name, that is req.body.db name, and then we'll give return. Now after this part we can use request.send, and if there is no error, database plus the name of the database, we'll paste it here and then create it successfully. Now this was the first app.post in which we have given the code for create DB. Now we'll again create app.post, and this will be for the new contacts that we are inserting. So new underscore contacts, new underscore contact. And then again, similarly, we'll go with the callback function. The function should return request and response. So after this, we'll create this function. So the name would be request.body.name, and the phone would be request.body.phone. Now we'll insert this thing, or we'll insert these values inside our database. For that, we are using db.insert. Now name should be name, comma phone should be your phone, and we have a third parameter, make this crazy as true. Now outside this will also specify this phone, because this phone is going to be the key and all the contacts are being saved by this phone number. And at last we are again defining a function for our error, or your body and your header with 3 arguments. Now I'll create, and similarly I will again check if you have error, then request.send error creating contacts, error creating contact, yes, and then we'll go with return. Then if there is no error, we'll send it the confirmation message to the user, contact created successfully. Now we'll create another app post in which we have view contacts function. The address would be /view. So now we will create a new app post in which we have view contact, and the name of the URL or the extension of the URL should be view contact. We'll again create a callback function. Inside again we have a request and a response. Then we'll create this function. First we'll create a variable doc, variable all doc. Over here we will specify following are the contacts. Now we'll retrieve the values from database using db.get function, request.body.phone. So as I told you, we are saving the contacts and their IDs are phone numbers. Now you can search the contact using your phone number. Then we have revisions, info should be true, and at last, again, as you know, I'm going to call a callback function where we have error and we have body. Now if there is no error, we are going to console.log and we'll print the body. Now if we have body, all docs will be plus equal to name, and it should print the body name, body.name, plus we'll give a break using br tag, and we'll print the phone number, and it is body.phone. If we have this, if we have the body, else all doc equal to should be no records found. No records found. Response.send for sending the response, and we'll send all doc. Then we'll again go with app post, and the last part is deleting a contact. So we are specifying delete underscore contact. So we are again creating a function which has request and response. Now we'll again check using db.get. We'll check for the phone as phone is the key. Then the revision info is true. Then again we are going to mention a callback function with parameter error and the body. So if there is no error, db.destroy for deleting the contact, and it has to destroy request.body.phone. We are deleting all the revisions that are stored. Then we are again creating a callback function with error and body. Now again we are checking for the error. If we have error, response.send would be error deleting contact. Else if there is no error, it will respond with response.send, and we have contacts deleted successfully. So now that we have created our code, we'll use stdp.createServer to create a server. And we are hosting the app, and we are using .listen, and we'll get the port that from app.port. Sorry, we'll get the port using app.getPort. And then we are giving a function, leaving the function empty, and now we are going to print inside our Node.js CMD express server listening on port, and we'll bind the port using app.getPort. Now as we have almost created our app.js file, so now we are going to create two folders inside our project. The first folder is routes as we specified, and the second folder is views. So we created two folders, routes and views. Now I'll go inside routes. So we'll first start working with views. We'll create a new file inside views, and the name is layout.jade. And we are going to create another file that is index.jade. So we'll first go inside layout.jade, We'll specify doc type HTML. Then we have HTML tag. Then we have head tag, inside which we have title tag. So title equal to title. Now you can specify a link to a style sheet using rel is equal to style sheet. And then you can give the path of the style sheet. Currently we don't have a path, so I am giving it slash style sheet slash style.css. Then we have body. Inside body we have block content. Now we are done with our layout.jade file, so we'll save this file and we'll go back to our index.jade file. So here we'll extend our layout.jade using extend layout command. So this command will automatically extend the template we are using in layout.jade. Now the block content we are mentioning here. First we have h1 tag and we have add new contacts. Then we have a form over here. Method is post. And your action should take you to new contact, which we just discussed in app.js file. So first we have name, then input, the type is text, and the name will keep it as name. Now the second parameter would be phone number. Type would be again text, and this would be phone. Then we have a button, that is submit button for submitting the form. Then we have second form for creating a database. So add new database. Form, the method is post. And the action is create DB. And then we'll give the database name. So the input type is again we have text. And the name is DB name. Then again we have a submit button. So I'm going to add a button here, that is submit, and add new, it should be a database. Then we have a form for enter phone number to delete contact. We'll copy the form. Then method is post. The action would be delete underscore contact as we specified in our add.js file. And then we need a phone number. Delete the contact. The name should be phone. And at last we have delete contact. At last we have view specific contact form. The method is again post. This one is view underscore contact. We need a phone number. The name is phone. We have a submit button and it would search the contact. So we'll mention here search. And now I'll save the file. So inside views, we have mentioned layout.jade file and we have mentioned the index.jade file. Now we'll go inside the routes. Over here, we'll create new file. The first file is index.js. And the second file I will create is createdb.js. Now we'll first go to index.js, export.index equal to function. We have request, we have response. We'll open the function response.render index. The title is express. I will save this file. Then we'll go to create database. So now we are again going to use exports.create. And we are creating a function. It has a request and a response. nano.db dot create request dot body dot db name, and there is a function which we are going to create. So if error response dot send, which we do, error creating a database, error creating the database. Okay, and then we'll use return, and then we have response dot send database created successfully. So now as we have created our code, I'll first take you to this app.js. Over here we have just installed, or we have just imported all the dependencies that we are going to use. Then you can see we have set the environment for this app, like port, views and view engine that we are using, that is Jade. Then we are specifying all the modules that we are using. Then using app-get, we are specifying the root. Then in createdb, the functions like request, response, and it should create a couchdb. Then we have slash new contacts, using which we are creating a new contact. Then we have slash view contacts, using which we can view the contact. Then we have delete contact, using which we can delete a contact. So now that we have created our app, we'll now go at the couchdb address so that we can see the couchdb. So the address is localhost 5984. Then we'll add utils so that we can view the tables, and these are the tables present inside our couchdb. So we'll now quickly go and execute our application. For that we will use node space app.js, which is the main file. And now you can see that Express server is listening on port 3000. So now we'll go at localhost 3000. So this is the form which we created. We have add new contacts, we can add new database, we can enter a phone number to delete a new contact, and we can view a specific contact using the phone number. So let us add the database which we are using, that is address, and add a new database address created successfully. We got the message. Then we'll go back to localhost 3000. So now we'll go and we'll create a contact. The contact is Thomas and the number would be 96154165527, and we'll add a new contact created successfully. So let us go back to our couchdb and check whether it has been created or not. Yes, we have address table created, and yes, we have 96154, the number from which is the ID, and you can see the name is Thomas. So yes, guys, this is saving the contact. Now let us go and view that specific contact using the phone number. So we'll search that contact, and this is the contact, that his name is Thomas and the phone number is 96154165527. Now we'll go back again and we'll delete this new contact, that is 96154165527, and we will be deleting this contact deleted successfully. We'll go back to our CouchDB, we'll reload this page. So you can see that our database address is empty. There are no contacts inside this database. So now you might be clear how you can work with Node.js projects and how you can create an application using Node.js. So we have come to the end of today's session. You can ask any doubts if you have. Otherwise, give me a quick confirmation. It seems that everyone is pretty much clear. So this video will be uploaded into your LMS. If you have any doubts, you can contact Edureka support team 24/7, or you can bring your doubts in your next class. Thank you and have a nice day, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!